Okay, so I felt like this was a good one to. Hi, first of all, hi, my name is Barbara. Welcome back to my channel. This is day 4 of our journaling journey, journaling our way into 2026. Day 4, the journal prompt is: what does my inner critic often say? How can I respond with compassion instead of judgment? So, funny enough, my inner critic is like, why are you doing these videos while you know you're tired? You're just rambling. You don't have a script. It's not going to go well. You might as well not even do it. And there's something to showing up prepared, but there's something to just showing up anyway. And I also like, why aren't you doing more of them? You know, don't do it while you're taking your makeup off. Like, you have your hair, your lashes, your makeup, you have this stuff done. Why would you make any of the videos without that done? Or, because that's me. Typically, I'm not gonna have makeup on. I'm not gonna have, none of that. So, if you plan on sticking around, you might as well get used to seeing me all natural. Anyways, what was I saying? Yeah, so that's one of the things that my inner critic can say. But sometimes I think there can be, for me, there's a tendency to want to get mad at that feeling. Like, why do you feel that way? Or to add that you shouldn't feel that way. It's not about whether I should or shouldn't feel a certain way. It's that's the way I feel. And so if that's the way I feel, I can accept that. I can ask why. Why do you feel that you have to show up a certain way? Of course, I know the world prefers people, to be put together, and that's totally fine for them to prefer that. And it's also totally fine for me still not to do that. So, you know, and to take that hit of I may not meet that standard. But anyways, going back to like what we're talking about, which is like 2026. I would like to add to that question or to that prompt, what I would want you to think about as well is, how does your inner critic hold you back from achieving your goals? Like, I know, again, we talk about all the time that, oh, I should be doing this and I should be doing that. And if you beating yourself over the head about what you should be doing worked, I think if it worked for me, I would think that I would be further along. If, being mean to myself worked. And I think that compassion gets a bad rap because we think that means that we can use it as an excuse. And that's not, it doesn't have to be those things. Be okay with whatever you're feeling, and you can still move towards whatever goal you have. So, what is your inner critic telling you about whatever goal or thing that you talked about changing on day 1? What is your inner critic telling you about that? And how can you have more compassion with yourself about not being as far along in the process as you thought you would be? Like, it's for me, I'm like, well, why am I still thinking this way? When I have those thoughts that aren't necessarily thoughts that I guess I would say, oh, I should know better than to be thinking like that. And when I have those thoughts, I want to, judge myself for not being as evolved as I think I should be. But why not? Why can't I just accept where I am? So, as you think about that, whether you're journaling now or whether you're taking this journal prompt with you into your day to kind of think about and maybe journal about later, just kind of spend some time with that question of, what does my inner critic say often? And how can I respond with compassion instead of judgment? Do you have an inner critic that tells you often that, you tried this before, it didn't work, you can't do this, you don't have the discipline, you don't have, whatever it is you need for your journey, you don't have it. Other people have it and you don't. How can you respond to that, not from a place of combativeness of yes I can type of thing? It doesn't even have to be that. It could be, okay, so I see you're scared, is there a part of you that's afraid to try again because you failed in the past? How can you have compassion for that part of you that has experienced failure and is afraid to try again? I think that's a good question too. How can you have compassion for that part of you that has failed and is afraid to try again? How can that help you as we think about this next year, and the changes that you want to make?